Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Self Care in the City. I'm Chantel. And if you're joining us for the first time, this is the podcast where we have those honest conversations about mental well being, modern life, and what it really, really means to thrive, not just survive. So, today's episode explores a question that feels to me incredibly relevant right now. How do we stay human in a world that is constantly asking us to perform, right? So we're surrounded by all sorts of messages all the time telling us to work harder, be more productive, optimize. I always hear that optimize and keep pushing harder. And yet, behind many, many, many successful people and careers, there's thriving businesses and those kind of seemingly put together lives, people who are quietly, I think, feeling exhausted. They're feeling disconnected. They're wondering whether they're actually living the life they actually want, right? Does it sound like you? So today's guest, who I'm so excited about, is a coach and a counselor who works with men. So these are founders, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, but you work with men, they're founders, they're leaders, they're entrepreneurs, just men in general, I guess, who are navigating change, who are navigating identity, well-being, and personal growth. Would that sound about right?
Yeah, beautifully put. And
Yeah.
I wish you were doing my marketing for me because that was so eloquently said. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Ashley, so much for joining me. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. And thank you. What a privilege to have a platform that you can speak about something you're really passionate about
Yeah.
and share this space and have these conversations. I'm really grateful to be here.
You know what? UK wellness founders don't get recognized enough. And I think people need to know who's doing what, who's doing the amazing work here in the UK. And so that's what this is all about. Right. So before we dive in to
Mm.
today's conversation, I'd love to our listeners to get to know you a little. So can you, or do you mind telling
Mm.
us about yourself and what led you into this work? I'm going to like really find out who is Ashley Croker.
Nice. Okay. So let's lean into that question you started us off with around, and I think it lends really nicely to the event you've just finished, the Unmasked event.
Yes.
This idea about in a world of noise, about being busy, about performing, about doing better.
Mm,
Um, who are we underneath that, right?
yeah.
And that's something that it took me a long, or felt like a long journey to discover. Um, what I now know in my work is actually I was very relatively lucky, right? Is I found what I want to do and who I am in my early 30s, and many
Good.
people unfortunately never reach that point.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's in their later life after they've given 5, 6 decades to a career or in a life that actually doesn't bring them any sense of
That's
joy or
me.
purpose. Mm.
That's me right here.
And so my journey to this, like I think many journeys for individuals, took lots of twists and turns. I was given lots of good advice by my dad, but one of those was that we should all leave school with a trade.
Mhm.
So I decided I wanted to be a chef. I went to hospitality school, learned how to become a professional chef, worked in a variety of a la carte restaurants, and we did really cool food. I worked in seafood restaurants.
Cool.
And at the age of 19, I was given the opportunity to run my own kitchen, to be a head chef.
Oh my God, amazing.
And so most 19-year-olds, most chefs would bite someone's hand off for this opportunity. And I was there super unfulfilled, of like, felt burnt out, didn't enjoy it, dragged myself to work each day, of like, I should, and you'll notice this pattern of shoulds throughout this story. I should be enjoying this.
Yeah.
I should be like living the dream, and I wasn't. Uh, I'd had a bit of that cliche gap year time in between that. I'd traveled a bit and met lots of different people and new cultures, and that had been really exciting. And had this itch underneath me that life had a bit more to it than a really good career. I didn't really listen to that though, and so I thought I wanted to work with people in some form of helping profession. That was the sense. It wasn't very well formed. It wasn't a world I knew very well, but I was fortunate to get myself an opportunity as a volunteer in a shelter, in a homelessness shelter, and this led me on a path for social work. Being that I'd come from this trade mentality and getting my hands dirty, if you like, I didn't have the best GCSEs. I wasn't a natural academic individual. So I went back to college, did all these studies, got myself to university. And again, there was this sense of like, this isn't the path. This isn't where I'm meant to be.
Wow.
I don't want to be the person making that assessment of, does that person get support? Does that person not get support? I knew that I was close, but I wasn't quite right. And I'll whistle stop tour you through the next few bits because there's about a dozen jobs in between.
Listen, we got to hear. I'm interested. I'm really keen. Like, what did you do in between? Even just naming them off really quickly. What did you do?
So I worked with young adults with chronic disabilities. So guys who need 24-hour support, or in wheelchairs, needed support with everything from breathing to toileting to eating.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, to addiction, domestic violence abuse, ex-offenders, like the whole spectrum. Wow. If there is and I really hate these terms, but if there's a category of service user, I've probably at some point in my career worked with an individual that fits that category. Another way to say that, right, is I've worked with a whole variety of people from every different walk of life, which probably sounds a lot nicer than service user.
We get it though. I get it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Service user. Okay.
And then my baptism of fire is I thought I wanted to work in education, and I got a job in something called a PRU, which is a pupil referral unit. Okay. Now, most people have not heard of these places, but for all those kids that get excluded, permanently excluded from schools, the council, the government has a responsibility to educate them. Okay. So they go to a place called a pupil referral unit, and I worked in a pupil referral unit.
Wow.
Yeah. You develop. If I thought working in a kitchen developed to fix skin, working in a pupil referral unit challenges you. It's like exposure therapy. It shows you each thing that you have insecurities about, anything that you feel that you're not confident about, it gets brought up, it challenges you.
Wow, that's crazy deep.
Yeah. And so I didn't spend a long time there, but I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about how and I didn't know this at the time, but a lot about how traumas show up. Right, everyone who's been permanently excluded has experienced trauma in their life.
Yeah.
And the process of being permanently excluded could even be argued to be traumatic, right? Is you've been told you don't fit here, you don't belong here. And so you create a space, and it's very often that you will then see the behaviors of people who feel rejected from their society, from life, from education.
I'm sorry, Ashley, we're losing you.
And so that was, but I knew it was close. I was like, there's something in this. A few iterations, and okay.
We've lost a bit of story.
Does that help?
We'll continue. I will edit this out. I'll try to edit it out. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Does it sound like I'm coming across clearer now?
It's clear, yeah.
So from my work in the pupil referral unit, I got a few more jobs in schools. And this is what led me down my career as a counsellor. I started to do what we call pastoral work. So I spend a lot of time listening to young people, advocating for them, mentoring them.
Okay.
And I got to meet counsellors. Different agencies would bring counsellors in, I would talk to them. And I'd already met a few across my career. But this was a new world to me. And it invited something, which I took a leap. It's a 4-year course to train as a counsellor in this country, at least. And So I went on that first course, and because of all the study I'd done, this was going to be a self-invested option. There was no like, oh, I'm going back to school option. It was like, if you want this, you're paying for it.
Wow.
So self-funded myself through this journey, and it was about a year in that I had this kind of moment of like, this is it. This is where I should be. And it also was at that year where I understood what I was training for. Is I was like, this is what counseling means. And I think you speak to any counselor and they will probably resonate with that. If you think counseling is one thing and then you understand, or you think you understand a little bit further along the line, it's about this. And then then it deepens.
What is that that resonated with you?
So the pattern and the legacy, which for some people they might already see the shining through, was I thought my purpose was I need to help people, as in, and another way to say it is I feel like I need to fix people. I need to fix others to make myself feel whole. Mm. And the reality is counselors don't fix people. Yeah, is people fix themselves. Or we could even say people find themselves, because no one really needs fixing, right?
Absolutely. I agree with that 1000%. I always say that in my work. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. So that just kind of leads me into, listen, I'd love to begin with something that really stood out to me about what I've seen. And like I said before, I know that you spend a lot of your time working with these founders and entrepreneurs and leaders and people who, I guess, from the outside often look like they're doing incredibly well. And yet the success doesn't always mean someone feels connected, right? So I guess my first question, if you will, is why are so many high-performing people disconnected from their selves, their bodies, their minds? What's going on here?
Yeah.
What have you seen?
Yeah. Well, let's play with that together, shall we? Are you happy to do that?
Yeah.
Because you were acknowledging some of those things that sounded familiar for you.
Yes. Am I getting a therapy session online? Is that what's happening for free?
If you're open for it, then I'm happy to play.
Let's see where it goes, shall we?
So my subconscious story was life is hard work. And so when you look at life through this lens of life is hard work, you treat it like so. And so you bring this element of energy, this element of push, this element of effort, which is why on paper, I was technically successful at any of the jobs I went in. I scaled into a leadership role quite quickly. Opportunities fell at my feet, people would say, but I also got bored really quickly, because if it was easy, then it didn't comprehend.
Yeah, I get it.
So we all learn these scripts or these stories. So you would have learned a story, right? You would have learned a story at some point from many different influences in your life that give you a roadmap for life. Yeah,
definitely. It feels very similar, that story of, I think for me, it was more, I was just coasting along in life and you just accept what things get dealt to you and you figure, this is the way my life is going to be, but it's not leaving a legacy. It's not making anything special or important in your life, and you just kind of go along. And I felt that, and I thought that was okay, but actually you're not happy just doing that if you're really self-aware. And I was becoming more self-aware, doing a lot of my own personal journey. So it just became much more of this doesn't sit with me just to not feel fulfilled. And that's what I really was looking for, that kind of fulfillment in life.
Great. And so, I won't therapize you, but I will give a kind of sense for people watching this of what this would then look like. Is we'd pick up the subtleties in your language, right? Is the judgments that we have about things. I was coasting a lot through life of like, can you also see that that's technically impossible to coast through life? Of like, we add a judgment of, have I made the most of actions and possibilities every single day of my life? And it's like,
exactly.
Well, yes and no. Like, that's a really existential question to ask. But we could probably both agree that it's quite complicated to coast through life. That is a judgment.
Love it. Yeah, I agree.
And the reason I picked that one out, because that gives us a sense of where we're looking from.
Okay.
So to give a contrast, if you said, I was always failing at life, then it would tell us a little bit of what does success look like? It looks like winning to you.
Yeah. And I think I was disconnecting. I think I was disconnected from those thoughts of doing better, being better, feeling better, and just thought, oh no, life just happens. And I have to accept those kind of things. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people probably feel the same way.
Right. And a lot of people could probably trace back a lineage to where that comes from, right? It is, well, let's see, what would happen to someone who's maybe told to be seen and not heard, to be quiet, to do as they're told,
Exactly.
to know their place. And if you hear some of those messages repeatedly from the caregivers and the people you look at as your role model, it's not until you start to question some things and think for yourself and go, why is it every day I don't really feel like I've got a purpose, or that I'm doing something, or making a change, or making an impact, like taking up space, being seen, being heard.
And you know what? It's interesting because I think so much of modern life encourages us to, if you will, live in our heads rather than our bodies. And so nowadays it's very simple to just be online, just scrolling, not thinking, mindless, not mindful about what we're doing and who we are, and having to think about these things. It's just the way life has been built around us, I think. I don't know if that's something that you would agree with or not, but that's how I've been kind of looking at things these days.
I think there's certainly some truth in that. I think I also want to be transparent that I sit on my phone and scroll sometimes. I've got a 7-year-old daughter that I'm really fortunate calls me out on that. Of like,
Wow.
we'll be playing and she'll say something like, "Oh, can we have no technology?" I'm like, what she means is, "Daddy, put your phone away." I'm like,
that's amazing at 7.
Yeah, because we've instilled into her the values that we would really love to have, but are also human. And so sometimes, as with all humans, we have some flaws, right? And my flaw is, I know that actually technology and staring at a small screen takes me away from being connected with real people. But it doesn't mean that the screen and the apps and the whole way it's designed aren't super engaging and designed to keep you on that device.
Yeah, it's incredible. But what I find is what you've just said is so beautiful about how you've taught your young child, your daughter, to really value space away from her phone, from being on her phone. And we weren't on our phones growing up. I mean, we didn't have phones. So I remember having such a great childhood, just riding my bike in the summers, going to the neighbor's house, running in the streets during the summertime. And now it's just people are on their phones, people are in the front of the computers, on their laptops, and it's just mindless stuff. So getting people to really be more aware, I think, is probably part of what you try to dig out of people almost in sessions, to get them to think and get them to be more understanding of who they are and what purpose they have in life is amazing. So that kind of leads me, I think. Unless you, sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Okay, so
and it might answer your next question. So you asked the question.
Okay, right. So that kind of leads me into the next bit that I was going to talk about. And what do you think men, I guess, are carrying today that previous generations didn't have to carry?
Good question.
I mean, it's like, do you think expectations of men or things have changed, or have they multiplied, or are men receiving different messages, mixed messages about who they're supposed to be? And as we kind of talked about before, in terms of social media, that kind of fits into all of this, I think, where men, especially young men, are seeing others online and getting a sense of, well, this is what it means to be a man, and this is what it means to feel respected and get that kind of, sense of who I am as a man and what I should be doing. And I think men are carrying a lot of shame. I think men are carrying a lot of pressure. They definitely feel a lot of responsibilities, and I think they feel that they might not live up to it. But that's just me as a woman, and hearing a lot of these conversations has picked up. But maybe you have something different to add to that.
Yeah, and potentially controversial, but I don't think men are carrying anything new. I think that for generations they've been carrying these things. But what I do think is different is the expectations are so loud right now and so conflicting. Right? Is for anyone who's watched Manosphere, the young men who are being given these kind of the misuse of alpha male role types, and to be out there and to be ruthless and to go out and pursue what you want.
Yeah.
And then hearing messages from deeply well-meaning individuals about therapeutic nature and talk about it, open up, be this person.
Yeah.
And so they have this spectrum which is continually growing, and having to navigate, where do I fit on that spectrum? And I think that's what's changed in generations. Is before you could have been one or two kind of archetypes of a man, and it's evolved into this really complex nature which no adolescent individual yet knows. I didn't know what kind of dad I was going to be. I'm really fortunate that I've done lots of therapeutic work that I can lean on that, and I do lean on that most weeks in parenting. And so I think that's what's hard. I think that's the weight and this complication that, and I mean no disregard or ill to the people who are saying we should get men talking, but I think what gets missed in that message is, well, who can carry it? Because and Brené Brown speaks really beautifully to this. This is an anecdote of hers, but Brené Brown, but is that, and I'm not going to quote what she says because I'll butcher it, but is it basically this point of like, do we actually want to hear what the men are really carrying and suffering with? And I know I've experienced that a couple of times in my life, where I'm feeling that level of overwhelm where I'm like, it's coming out whether I want it to come out or not. And seeing particularly the women in my life take a little back step of like, not seen Ashley share like that. I've not seen him cry like that before. I've not seen him vulnerable like that before, and experience an element of discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difficulty for men, is knowing that this is not just a little step into the unknown. This is you're asking me to go into a place that for generations we've been told we don't go into, and just be vulnerable.
Well, the thing is, I get that. I love Brené Brown and what she said, and I think I know exactly the anecdote that you were talking about. But I wonder whether many men, they kind of feel like, okay, they're expected to be emotionally available while still being this capable kind of person. It's like what you're kind of saying, when a female encounters that, and they're like, oh, he's emotionally available, but maybe it's a little too much. And there's no too much, and there's no, right or wrong way to be that. But I think that a lot of men, you've probably seen this maybe in your practice, a lot of men actually feel that way. And I think when our identity becomes wrapped up in meeting those kind of expectations, I imagine that can be quite fragile for a guy to kind of go through and feel. And I guess my next question leads into that, or comes from that idea. If a man's identity is built around his career, right? So he's the role as a provider. He's like the strong one, like you were saying. What happens when those things are shaken? What have you seen, I guess, in terms of your clients? Do you often see this kind of, you know, identity shift when in your clients around this?
Well, and I think you're putting it in a really polite way, right? As a identity shift. What if I rephrase that as a metaphor? What happens to a building if all the foundations were ripped away from it?
Yeah, I love that.
Is the thing would crumble, and it wouldn't exist anymore. And that comes up in my work more than I would like to be the truth. Is that people come and they will package it in different questions. I don't really know what my purpose is, or I've just lost all kind of motivational mojo, or I just feel like I can't be asked of anything, or life is like, are we allowed to swear on this podcast? Okay. Life is, and then an expletive of like of what they're really trying to express with the limited emotional range they have.
By the way, I was joking there.
Oh,
I was like, no, but I was joking. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Sorry. I realized afterwards, I'm like, oh wait, maybe you took me seriously there.
I did.
Yes, you can swear. Oh, you're like, this is like, please, come on.
Okay, yeah. Next time, it's not fun if it's forced.
Exactly.
Is what they are trying to express is like, I don't know who I am.
Yes.
And it's really interesting the timings of when that happens. Is resilience is a value and a strength that most men at some point in their life have developed and been told is a good strength to have. And so they will lose their job, or they will lose their family, or they will lose a part of them, physical or metaphorically, and they'll go on for weeks or months, and then something will happen, the most subtlest, simplest of things, and they'll go, can't do it anymore. And that's the acknowledgement of like, that big, tall, powerful building that I created as my identity isn't what I am.
And I guess that's when they start to rebuild their identity, who they think they are through all of that, because it feels like those moments, and I was actually going to mention those, whether it's divorce or whether it's retirement, burnout, those things, I think you would agree, are opportunities for growth for men.
Yeah, but they all come through, let's say, painful unmasking, right? Is when you've worn the mask for so long, taking it off can feel really vulnerable and daunting, and we don't necessarily know what it looks like underneath that mask.
Which is scary for some people who don't really like looking at their inner selves because it's just too, scary, frightening. You don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And that's where something like coming to talk to you and what you do. And so what is it that you do now? I think we didn't really get to that nub from the beginning, but what is it that you do? I know it's a certain type of therapy, right?
Yeah, so I integrate two things. So integrate humanistic counseling, which is therapy.
Okay.
And that's based off of this concept of believing that we can self-actualize. Really, have I lost you? Or are you with me?
I've got you again now, but it did cut out when you were trying to explain, so I'm gonna have to cut this out again. Can you say it again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I integrate two things. I integrate humanistic counseling with transformative coaching. So humanistic counseling is a therapy model which believes that we can self-actualize. So with the right criterias and the surroundings, we can find our highest self, our best self, our truest self.
Okay. So when you say the right surroundings, what exactly does that mean? Can you give me an example?
So yeah. So a therapeutic relationship is the right surroundings for you to be able to take your mask off and do the vulnerable work.
Okay.
as say I'm a CEO in a massive corporation where we have an aggressive strategy to success. And I realize, I've got some childhood stuff I need to work on because I only ever feel like I'm good enough when I'm attacking.
Mm.
Can you see that being in that CEO role is not the right surroundings for them to do that therapeutic work?
Yeah, absolutely. God, that just make it even more stressful. I get it. So then how do you help someone separate who they are from what they do in your work?
Nice. Yeah. And so that's where the transformative coaching really lends itself well, is that it runs through this belief which complements the therapy that we all live through stories.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
we create our stories quite early on, and we build them and they become beliefs. And part of my role as the coach is provoking, challenging, and playing with your thinking so that you can see these things from a new lens.
And is there a question that you regularly ask your clients that helps unlock that kind of shift?
Yeah. So I'll explain what the question is, but then I'll give the listeners a different question because this question won't do a lot. So after building someone up for maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes of getting them to tell me what it's like, what their reality is.
Yeah.
I simply ask them the question, what's the story there?
So they have to play it back in their heads.
Mm.
It's a very interesting question to ask people because a lot of people, especially when they're starting off in therapy, they just don't know how to think about those things. And I don't know, how do you find people respond to that?
So often people are just living that same narrative, that same story again and again and again, and no one's ever challenged them in a therapeutic way. I call it compassionate challenging.
Oh, I love that. Compassionate challenging. And why is it called compassionate challenging?
Well, okay. If I said to you, and I know you've done a lot of this work yourself, but if I said, I'm going to challenge you on this call, Chantel, does a part of you kind of put a back foot down of like, okay, let's be in defense mode?
Yeah, absolutely.
So compassionate challenge is about like, there's no judgment coming from me. I'm doing this in full service to you. I'm doing this from a place of love and care. But again, can you see if I did that to most of my male clients?
Yeah.
I'm doing this from a place of love and care. I'm doing this for you. They're probably going to tell me to shut the fuck up. Like,
very true. Very true. But the fact that you don't have to explain it, but you just do it, I think is just amazing that you can just get there with them. I think they probably appreciate that, and without even realizing it. So
yeah. So to give a second question, which the audience listening now can apply this. If the story I'm telling myself right now isn't true, how would my life look different?
That's a really interesting. I'm just like thinking about that myself. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. And so it helps if we apply that to something really specific. So that's that. An old me, the fact that for anyone watching this, or we've had a couple of technical issues, like my computer's not delivering with what I would love it to be able to do. Right. And the perfectionist part of me would have always gone, Ash, you should have known this, like you should have prepared for that. You could have done better. And so if I was still living through that story and berating myself, and then I asked myself the question, if that story wasn't true, how would this look different? It would look Ashley and Chantel are having a really lovely conversation, and it got interrupted twice, and that means nothing.
Yeah, absolutely how I see it as well. So I love it. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so amazing, and I think it's so needed to have these kind of conversations, for men to have these conversations. And it's encouraging that we're having more of these kind of conversations around mental health. And I just wonder sometimes how much has really changed. And I think, do you think men have become better about talking about mental health, going through this kind of process, or are we just becoming better at talking about mental health, if you know what I mean?
Well, I think there's some truth to both statements. I think there is an incredible amount of noise in every circle now about the topics of mental health,
Yeah.
and they are more commonplace. The places you wouldn't have seen them a decade ago, people
Mm.
are talking about mental health now.
Yeah. Which is good, which is amazing, which is great. I'm thankful that people are much more aware. Like, I'm sure you feel the same.
100%. Like, partly from a selfish point of view as a business, right? If more people are talking about investing in their well-being and mental health,
Yep.
There's more work there.
Mhm.
I think anyone who pretends that they're beyond that is lying. Of like, we do work in this wellness space. Like, there's lots of fantastic volunteer organizations, and I know you give lots and lots of your time, Chantel. But actually, every therapist, every coach is also a business, and I think it's really healthy to be transparent about that.
Yeah.
But to answer that second point, I just think that there is an expectation that culturally men catch up with where we would like them to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of radical, right? Since I read a study about this, and I really wish I could quote the study. Unfortunately, it's not there in my head. But like, if we look at this from the impact of World War One and World War Two, where men came back and saw the most traumatic, tragic things, and where there was no infrastructure for them to process that.
Mm.
And that's just continued to roll on generation after generation. So
Yes.
100 years down the line, we're like, men should start talking.
And that's what I heard actually recently. It's so funny that you bring that up, because that's what I've heard recently, where that whole stiff upper lip came from, is World War II, where the men went off to war, they had to go through things, and this is what their fathers and their forefathers had to deal with. And so you have to deal with it, and it's just passed down through generation. So it's old, but it's not that old. So who knows how we can now try to make that shift. And I can see that change in society now, that we're like, wait a second, it's been how many years since that happened? Let's look at this again. And so I guess along those lines, what's one more thing, I guess, or what's one thing more men should discuss?
Good question.
Or maybe I should rephrase it and say, what conversation is often avoided that perhaps they should be talking about, that maybe they don't feel safe, men, to talk about certain things. And it's quite interesting to me to be having these conversations about what men should be talking about. And I want to have more of them, because I think that men need to feel it's okay to talk about these things.
Yeah. And I think the answer to that is vast. But so 2 points that I actively encourage more in my work. The first of that is fun. We so often leave fun till last, or it gets wiped out, and we feel like, we got to talk about the nitty gritty, the deep, the emotions. I need to hear about that childhood trauma, and then I'm like I take a solution focused model, right, which it sits, like, for anyone who's really nerdy about this stuff, sits under the umbrella of humanistic therapies, and solution focus says the solution is never found in the problem, or rarely found in the problem. Of like, if we focused on fun, of like, hey Chantel, like, where are you having the most fun in your life right now?
Are you looking for an answer?
And you, how do you think you feel after that conversation?
Oh, you breaking up?
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh no.
Okay, I hear you, but it's breaking up. It's breaking up. I think
I'll give it a second, then I'll ask the question again.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I asked you the question of like, Chantel, where are you having the most fun in your life right now? What would you say?
I would say actually meeting the people that I'm talking to about my business, the ThriveWell Hub. There's so many amazing, incredible people doing this podcast, the things that I'm working on in my business that are making me feel a lot of joy and a lot of like, I love meeting new people, and that's great.
Yeah. And I then don't have to ask a follow-up question, because I see it in your face, I hear it in the energy and the tone in your voice, that brings you alive.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to ask a different question, and I don't want you to answer this one, tell me about like some of your childhood traumas. How do you think you might feel after an hour of that conversation?
Oh, drained. Absolutely drained.
Yeah. And so this is one of the patterns and again resistances for a lot of men about coming to therapy.
Yeah.
Is those who have tried it have been like, not going back there again.
Well, I love what you're offering. And I think this is an opportunity to tell people about, and I forget the name that you're calling this. Is it the 100 Men Challenge or is it the 100 Therapies Challenge? What are you calling this exactly?
So, yeah, this didn't go through much of a design and research process, but it was the cliche of like, I just had Christmas and I was setting a New Year's resolution. And I thought to myself, I would love to get 100 men to try therapy in 2026. So I called it the 100 Men Project. It's that simple. The emphasis behind it is about eliminating as many of the hurdles that men come across, and women, but like the drive was for men to access therapy. So
Yeah.
there's no assessment criteria, no wait list. There is a link, and in partnership with Unmasked and the ThriveWell Hub, these are free 30-minute solution-focused therapy sessions.
This is awesome. Oh my God. This is amazing for men to actually get this opportunity. And I'm going to be putting this out on my website under the Unmasked section. I'm going to be putting it in my newsletter, which I already have been starting to do. And we'll be putting it on our social media so that people can really find this challenge and contact you, because listen, you've got the space and this is an opportunity for people who normally wouldn't be able to pay, normally wouldn't think it's for them, just to try it out.
Yeah.
And like you just said, solutions focused is more fun.
I love that. I'm going to steal that as a tagline. Yeah, that's great.
Please do.
And the premise also, to just reiterate, if someone's considering that, is at the end of that 30 minutes, they never have to talk to me again if they don't want to. There's no like, I think everyone's sick of it now of like sales funnels and emails going, oh, just checking in. Like, I won't do any of that. But the agreement is that you come for this session. It's a single session. You give it a go, and then you're free to go.
But if they do want to continue, there's always that opportunity as well, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for anyone who wants to do that, they can just find me either through my website, ashleycrocker.co.uk, or they can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google. If they search my name, they will find me. And then we can just connect and have that conversation. I've, again, tried not to like gatekeep and make these kind of made up barriers of exclusivity of like, I don't think we need that in life. That just complicates things.
I completely agree. I think things should be so much more fairer for people and stop putting a pound to every single thing. People can't afford it these days. The way the cost of living is, the way that the world is going, it's so dire and depressing. Something fun, uplifting, and helpful shouldn't be a barrier. So thank you so much for doing that. And I always like to finish these conversations by speaking directly to the person listening. There may be someone, whether you're driving home from work, you're walking the dog, or you're sitting quietly with headphones on, and you really needed this conversation today. So I'd love to ask you this. If a man is listening today and quietly feeling stuck, disconnected, or like he's carrying more than he can ever tell anyone else about, what's the one thing you'd want him to hear, Ashley? What is something, I guess, that you think should land from everything that we've kind of said today?
So I believe, and many clients have reinforced, that the hardest part of therapy is starting. And so all you need to know is that every single human being on this world is born with innate courage, the ability to do hard things. And so you have the ability to do this hard thing. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops, I'm going to therapy. And find someone you feel that you can speak to comfortably. So if that's not me, that's okay. Find someone on a directory or on a website where you look at them and you hear what they're saying and just feel like that feels like someone I could reach out and have a conversation. You will find that strength in you once you take that action. Everything else from there, it gets easier.
That is so amazing to hear. I think so many people are probably nodding like I am. Like, thank you. Ashley, before we wrap up, I'd love to give you an opportunity to share what you're working on, if there's anything. Is there anything you're currently passionate about promoting, advocating for, bringing more awareness to? Just let us have it.
Thanks. So I am always trying to live to my values of fun, freedom, and fulfillment. So August, I am taking the month off. It's the first time in 4 years where I want more than just a week's holiday. So taking the month off, me and the family are going to be hiking the Pembrokeshire coast. But when I get back, we're working on 2 projects. One's a collaboration project about working with nature, and this is going to be for helping professions. I'll let you know all about it, Chantel, once it's up and it's running, because it's very much your vibe.
Yep.
And the second, it came to me this week, starting in September, a 6-week program on unshakable confidence.
Ooh, I love that. Tell me more.
So this will be an online group for 6 weeks, hours of coaching, and it follows very much what we've been talking about today, is that confidence comes from this inner belief, our self-belief. And it taps into our innate courage. And there's a way to, and I'll give you a brief story after this. There's a way to be unshakably confident in everything you do. And the story for that is, would you believe after this conversation that I was what they call the grey child growing up? I was shy, I was quiet. At the age of 7, my parents took me to karate to build confidence. I wouldn't speak up. It took years for me to ask a girl out. Like I felt like I had no confidence.
Oh no, I wouldn't believe that at all now. No.
Yeah. And so what I've learned from my years in therapy and my years of coaching is that came from this belief. It came from this story. And actually we can teach confidence the same as we could teach communication skills or elocution or a practical skill. It's just not a skill that is often taught.
I think you're right. It's like a muscle, isn't it? That you just have to keep kind of tuning, fine-tuning, redoing, and just growing every day. Because I was very similar to you, extremely shy. And even to this day, I have my shyness, but people still don't believe it. Like, no way. Not you. I'm like, oh yes, unbearably shy. It was crazy. But I told myself, I think I was 9 years old, and I said to myself, I have to be much more open and talking to people and getting out there. So I forced myself to just talk more. And over time, just doing certain things really helped to sort of grow that in me. But yeah, you have to willingly do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Deliberate hardship, right? Yeah.
I love that. Ashley, thank you so much for your time today. I've really, really appreciated this conversation. I think it's just because we've explored something that affects so many people, not just men, even though we were talking a lot about men, but anyone who's ever felt the pressure to keep performing while they're actually quietly wondering who the heck they are underneath it all, right? So I hope today's conversation has reminded you, listeners, that success and well-being are not the same thing. That taking care of yourself isn't just a sign that you're falling behind. It's part of just building a life that I guess would genuinely feels like your own. And so if you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who you think might benefit from hearing from this conversation. And if you'd like to continue exploring the things that Ashley has been talking about here around mental well-being, self-care, you can find Ashley at ashleycrocker.co.uk. Is that it? Right?
Yeah.
LinkedIn, you can find him on Instagram, you can find him all over, I'm sure. But also he will be, and I'll be putting the 100 Men Project in my next newsletter that comes out. So please take a look. And if you know someone or know someone who knows somebody who would be interested, please share it with them. So with that in mind, thank you so, so much for listening, everyone. And until next time, take good care of yourselves. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Ashley. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.